we're going academic tonight. You know the way normally we get some idiot off of distillery or something like that. We've actually decided to go highbrow because we're talking to the University of Kentucky, no less. And I see this is up your street, it's not up mine.
I know, but as soon as I look up and I see a Kentucky woman, I hear the song in my head.
Now, what we're doing, I was looking around, as I do, I search around for whiskey stories, stuff relating to whiskey, and so on and so forth. And I found out that there's a project happening over at the University of Kentucky that they are wanting to do. It's kind of there's a few people doing this kind of thing, but they're wanting to do it a little bit differently and add like more sort of definition to it because it's more about single estate whiskies, which we tend to think of as being a bit more craft, a bit more small scale and so on, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. So we are joined by Alexa and Landon from the University of Kentucky, and they're going to explain what the Estate Alliance is. So who wants to go first? Fill us in on what this is. Tell us about the project.
Yeah, well, Marty, Justin, thanks for having us. We're so glad you reached out and invited us on today. This is really exciting to talk to you guys, but also to talk about Estate Whiskey Alliance here at the University of Kentucky. I'm Landon Borders. I'm the director of the Estate Whiskey Alliance. I'm a full-time employee of the University of Kentucky, and my responsibility is to support research partnerships and innovation economic development. So the university, we have 35,000 plus students. We have over 20,000 employees, and we're approaching around $500 million US in research funding every year.
Wow.
So we're quite a research enterprise. I think a lot of folks probably know that Kentucky is also the birthplace of bourbon. So we have a very thriving and growing bourbon industry in our region. And just to the south of us, our friends down in Tennessee, the Tennessee whiskey business is also doing fantastic, and just the whiskey business in general across the world. So anyway, that's a little bit about me and my background. We'll talk more about the Estate Whiskey Alliance here in a minute, but I want to turn it over to my colleague Alexa to introduce herself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Alexa Norell. I'm a little bit newer at the university than Landon is, so I started less than a year ago, beginning of September. So I'm still getting into the swing of things, but before working at the university as the operations manager for the Estate Whiskey Alliance, I was with Wild Turkey for a little bit, and I was doing half like quality work, half distillery chemistry. And then before that, I was actually in wine, so a little bit different, but I was out with Gallo in California and their research winery, which is a really, really cool experience to get to have. And then before that, I was a distiller at a craft distillery in Lexington called James E. Pepper. It's smaller. It was really small when I was there. Like we only had 4 fermenters, one shift a day, like 2 or 3 barrels. But they've expanded a lot.
Yeah, they're bigger now. They're a lot bigger than that now.
Yeah, well, and their whole business has always been like export focused too. Yeah. So I feel like their presence is way more there than it is here. So yeah, that's just a little bit about where I came from, why I got involved in this project. When Landon told me about it when he was interviewing me for this job, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and also was shocked that it didn't exist already. So
yeah. So now you say you worked in a few things. Whenever you just little connection by a Wild Turkey started by the Rippey family. The Rippey family came from County Tyrone. That's why they were distilling in Tyrone, Kentucky when they first started. So that's the connection with us guys. So we were in. So that's Tyrone. It's a county just across from us. So that's connection.
Martin,
okay.
Marty, did you have a bottle of turkey there?
I don't have wild. No, do have wild turkey.
Okay.
I probably don't have one. Maybe have one in there somewhere. There's one in at the back. I'd have to pull out about 40 bottles to get at it, but I think there's a bottle in there.
Yeah, trust me, he has ones you've never even heard of.
I've lots of ones I've never even heard of. But So
hey Marty, I've got a connection for you though. So do you know who Pierce Lyons is?
I know. I was in Pierce Lyons about 2 months ago, and Pierce.
Well, there you go.
Pierce has family down in the Pierce Lyons down in Dublin.
That's right.
Yeah, down in it's really cool. That St James's Church is the way they've done it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
But Pierce, it was unfortunate what happened to him. I mean, he was fit as a fiddle. But
it was, and I think just making a connection here to Kentucky. And actually here in the greater Lexington region, when Pierce grew up in Dublin, and he worked at Harp for a spell. I think he worked at Guinness for a spell. I think he received his master's in brewing and distilling.
Harriet Watt.
But then he came here to Kentucky, and the word on the street is that he had a choice between starting an animal nutrition business or a brewery, and he chose an animal nutrition business, and that is called Alltech.
Yeah.
And it is a huge business globally now with over 6,000 employees. And then the other cool thing is he acquired Lexington Brewing at the time, which was making Kentucky Ale, but he expanded that to Kentucky Brewing and Distilling Company. So have you ever had Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale by any chance?
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic beer. It comes
stuff.
from here. And Town Branch is it's a bourbon that's made here at that distillery. So anyway, that's a really cool connection, I thought, to
Don't me tell you the truth. I'll give you another connection. 1792, the year Kentucky was founded. It was founded when Daniel Boone, who was Scots-Irish. We're Scots-Irish from up in the north of Ireland. His family was from there. All of the families that started it, they were all Scots-Irish. The founding families of Kentucky were all Scots-Irish. So they came from our little part of Ireland. Scottish, Ireland,
awesome.
over.
So many connections.
Dead easy. That's one of the reasons I love whiskey, because it's just such a small world. When you start adding up the little bits and pieces, there's all these little connections. It's lovely. But back to Estate Alliance, because I want to talk about this. Alexa, you say that you have a wine background over in California, over in the Gallo guys. Estate whiskey kind of has similarities to sort of estate wine. We're used to having chateau wine, and so on.
Right.
Estate whiskey is kind of a different thing, but it's very similar. I'm correct in that. That's what you're aiming to have, that kind of provenance and terroir and all that kind of jazz. So is that the idea? Is that what you're wanting to try?
Yeah, and I think that's like the easiest way to explain it to people, because as soon as we say like, oh, we're starting this estate whiskey alliance, and they're all immediately asked like, what is estate whiskey? I always say like, have you heard of an estate wine? Because at least it gives people the right like idea of thinking of everything being grown on the property and then being processed there and like coming from a local area. But obviously it looks different for whiskey because there's more than just one thing going into the wine. So it's been helpful to have that to benchmark against. And I feel like I've learned a lot from even researching that, because there's estate bottled in the wine world, which is TTB defined. So like the government regulates that, but then there's estate grown, which isn't regulated. And so people that don't meet the requirements of estate bottled are using estate grown. And it's like a weird like workaround almost.
Yeah. I can see where there might be some, shall we say, smoke and mirrors being employed there.
Right. Yeah. And it's like a little misleading. So we were like, how can we attack this from a whiskey perspective to prevent that from happening? And like making sure that we're like keeping the regulations strict and like keeping the definition of it high enough, but also making it achievable that like people actually can do this and like create a product.
Yeah. So what you want to do, right? Let's get down to it. You guys want to define in legislation, certainly in the States, what qualifies as a single estate whiskey. Is that fair enough to say?
Well, that's close, and maybe but just taking a step back, we talked about Kentucky, its origins, its awesome connection there, 1792. But the university has been working with the spirits industry for the last 150 years, producing talent, research, outcomes. That's right. that have impacted the bourbon industry here, certainly. Yeah. So it wasn't really our idea. We can't take credit for it. We have a lot of partners that we work with, and they brought it to our attention. They said, look, there's no definition here. There's a lot of momentum, and I think there's a lot of energy around kind of returning to an estate process for whiskey production. And UK, you guys are a trusted, unbiased third party. What would you say to helping us develop a definition, but to facilitate a certification program? So not a regulation. This isn't a law or anything here. It's an elective certification for any of our members if they wish to pursue it. So here at UK, like I said, we've got research facilities. It's home of the James B. Beam Institute, which is the largest academic distillery and aging facility as far as I'm aware in this in the country, maybe in the
I would
world.
imagine it's probably the biggest in the world. I would think.
Yeah,
I think it is.
I'm prepared to
Yeah.
stand on my sword
Yeah.
and lie on the
Yeah.
sword for that one. I think,
And it's also it's a registered DSP now too, which I think is like the first university to ever accomplish that.
yeah, that's really cool.
yeah.
So anyway, the point of that is, we have the resources. Our office is here. We love building consortia because we like transferring technologies out of the university. In this case, it's a trademark and a certified certification mark for products to meet that criteria. So it just checked all the boxes for us. And my background, I'm a product developer, but I've worked a lot in standards development. I've certified. I can't tell you how many products in my career. I've worked in organizations that are certification oriented. So it just made sense. And having Alexa on the team and other folks here at the university, we have a really good team put together to make this happen. So that's what we're doing. And we've been working behind the scenes on this for a long time. And we announced it at the James B. Beam Industry Conference back in March.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, Marty, I think we were the last talk of the day. And after that was a reception with drinks, right? So I was like, there's not going to be, people are going to be heading over to the reception. Alexa, how many people were in there? I mean, there was probably 300.
Probably. Yeah, it was a really good showing.
Yeah, we were, and they were leaned in and listening. So I think that was one of the early indicators that there is a lot of interest here. And I think there's a lot of enthusiasm that has made this a really great experience for us so far.
Yeah, well, I think the thing about it is everybody's trying to get their sort of niche. It's very easy to walk into a liquor store in the States and have 300 spirits sitting there, and everybody kind of wants to have something that makes them stand out a little bit, or something that's a little bit different, be that branding or story or background or organic or whatever it is, and having something else that they can say, well, this is something that we could do. This is maybe something else, and we can get certified. And I think I'm kind of getting the idea that you guys are wanting to get together a number of different estate distillers where they can maybe share expertise or help each other out, that kind of thing. Is that an ambition? That's one of the aims, is it?
Yeah, high tide lifts all boats, right? And that's
correct.
We are not the authority on this, right? It's what the people that understand this the best are the folks that are practicing this every day, the folks that are in the fields, right? And so we know that the best approach to this is to be conveners, to be facilitators, to listen, but to also set the bar high, and to be very inclusive, and to bring people in. We want to make our resources available to folks that want to work with us.
Yeah.
I talked a little bit about the certification program, but selfishly, I'm really excited about the research and development aspects of the Estate Whiskey Alliance, because that's my background.
Yeah.
But this is a paid membership, so there's a little skin in the game. But every dollar that's not going towards overheads or covering costs goes into a fund that will be used to fund research and development that orients towards estate produced processes. So that could be agricultural aspects, or research into heritage grains in certain regions, or experiments, where we could test certain grain varietals that may be common in Ireland, for example, barley species that don't grow well here in Kentucky. So there's a lot of potential there, I think, for discovery that could really move the needle for us in the long run.
Yeah, but I think it's always the same. If you get a network of people talking, as you say, one of my favorite sayings is "a rising tide lifts all ships." I mean, it's just that idea that if you have that sort of the wisdom of crowds, if you have enough people, they'll come up with the best solutions really quite a lot quicker than someone trying to figure it out themselves. Now, Alexa, your background obviously in spirits and distilling and so on and so forth. What made you move? Because being a distiller these days is, it's kind of an exciting time to be a distiller, certainly in the States. So you've kind of moved off from that. That's a lot of people are going in the other direction.
Yeah, I think eventually I could see myself going back to it too, but I think I just wanted to see kind of like what else there was and where I had been in so many different positions. Cause like I was a distiller for a little bit at a craft distillery, and then I got to do the whole wine research thing, and then I got to wild turkey, and I didn't realize like when you get bigger scale how automated everything is.
Yeah.
And so like I never even really toured distilleries, honestly. So like in my head, everything was like pepper, where like you were physically like moving the cranks and like, you know, like literally like turning pipes open and closed to like control the flow rate. And then I got to wild turkey, and it's like learning these sequences. Yeah. And I was like, okay, this is a little bit different. So then when I heard about this project that's kind of more like taking whiskey back to its roots, I was just really interested in it. Not that there's anything against like major corporations and like a lot of people source and like that's what you have to do, but I think just like I'm personally more interested on like the smaller side, more craft, estate, like in this sector of things. Like it's almost a completely different industry. It's so bizarre. It's crazy how like completely opposite two different distilleries could be.
Yeah, well, I mean, once you start talking about the big guys, even though it's still fairly craft, you know, even in the big scale, it is still fairly craft. There's just so much automation and computerization. But I mean, it's exactly the same process, just one's on a different, one's on a totally different scale. But in terms of estate whiskies, how big a scale could a single estate whiskey be? Is it, you know, is it? I mean, could you get a certification even though you are a massive corporate farming entity? You know, could you, in theory, have 200,000 acres of barley underground and still be able to get a single estate? You know, is that possible, do you think?
Well, I think you've touched on an important point, and that is the certification is not for the estate itself. It's not extended to a distillery. Mm-hmm. It's on a per product basis. And I'm glad you and Alexa both have brought up the fact that there are very large scale operations and there are very small scale operations. Mm-hmm. And we've had countless conversations with distilleries of all sizes and shapes, and we see a lot of strategies here.
Yeah.
We see, starting on the small scale, where estate is inherent to their identity. It's their brand. It's everything they do is estate. And what we're seeing also is maybe in the middle, some of the mid-sized distilleries are looking at differentiating their product lines by introducing a new category that's estate. Mm-hmm. So it's not that they may have, I'm making this up, a dozen products and they're introducing a new one, and that allows them to experiment a little bit. So there's an experimentation that we're seeing where folks are trying something new and different to see, okay, they're trying the market out. They're going to see, what is this going to do for them? And then we see very large scale operations mm-hmm. that are doing the same thing. They've, here in the States, you see folks that are distilleries that are actually originally farms, large grain farms that have also opened up distillery operations. And then you see traditional distilleries that have continued to grow and acquire property and lease property adjacent to them. And, so that's how they are sourcing the amount of grains that they need, at least on a product basis.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're seeing, a little kind of behind the scenes, what we're seeing here in the U.S.
Well, I've lifted down a couple of single estate Irish whiskies that I know. Now, mm-hmm. one is these guys, Ballykeefe.
Oh yeah,
over in Kilkenny, and these guys, it's a single farm, and they've wanted to become distillers. They've become distillers, but everything is as environmentally friendly as possible.
Right.
Everything, there's no waste at all. And they've done this. It's a family farm, it's single estate. They do everything basically. But again, it's basically a small sort of two-man band outfit. And then we have these guys. This is the Lakeview Single Estate. Love the bottle. It's like a Chanel No. 5 bottle. Yeah. Really cool. There's a reason for that. But anyway,
it's purely coincidental that.
No, it's not. Sure, that's just because his grandmother got a bottle of Chanel that they couldn't get the cork off. But
don't drink the Chanel. It doesn't taste very good.
No, I know.
I'm not knocking them, but
I've tried it a couple of times with Coke. It's not bad with a drop of Coca-Cola. It's all right with Coke and an ice cube. If you're stuck, if you're nothing else. But Morris, Sir Morris, that does this. His is a bit different because he owns the Lakeview estate. It's an old family estate that they've had for centuries. But he doesn't have a distillery. What he does is he grows the barley, sends it off up to the Great Northern. They distill it for him, and then he brings the spirit back to the estate and ages it there on site. So the only part of the process really that he doesn't do is actually the distilling bit. But he's got permission to use single estate in Ireland. I assume he got it from somebody. But yeah, there's another one, Ecklinville. They've just released their new product, and they do everything. They grow their own barley, they malt their own barley, use their own water. Everything's all aged on site as well. So all of those qualify for single estate certification from you guys. Is that exactly what you're looking for?
No, I think we're leaning in on a definition, and as Alexa mentioned already, like we benchmarked certainly the wine industry in the United States, but I think more importantly, we've gleaned a lot of insights through conversations with distilleries, U.S. and globally, just on best practices. And I feel like the consensus is for our partners anyway, and certainly our founder managers, we're leaning in towards that all production processes occur on the site, including distilling and milling and fermentation and aging, bottling, but that the majority of the grains are also coming from the estate, and that those that aren't coming from the estate are sourced locally. Now, for certainly for whiskey, it's and in the U.S., there's not a lot of malting options, so we want to set the high bar, but also be realistic that not everyone can invest in equipment to do malting on site. So that's kind of where we're where we're leaning.
So you want to listen to the industry as for what they can do. I mean, having a malting operation for a small distillery is just a bit of a no for most people.
Yeah.
For most people.
Yeah. And we want to be. I mentioned this earlier, but we want to be inclusive, right? This isn't for the big operations. It's not just for the little. I mean, we want to see everyone involved that wants to do this, that shares the values and mission of the Estate Whiskey Alliance to be involved. And I should mention too that we have filed trademarks for the Estate Whiskey Alliance and the Estate Whiskey Certified mark in the U.S., Canada, in the UK, in the EU, and Japan. And we feel like that's a really good start. And
that covers most of the industry. Let's be honest.
I know it does, but we, hopefully one of these days we get to a point where we can expand into India or Australia or some of the, some of the other places that are also producing whiskey, but don't want to get our heads out in front of our skis, as they say.
No. Speaking of getting your heads out in front of skis, Kentucky Derby, are you horsey racy fans?
Oh yeah. This is horse country. Alexa, what's your take? Like, what's on you're not from Kentucky, right? We're lucky to have you. You're from Chicago. What do you think about the horse industry in Kentucky, which is another great connection between Kentucky and Ireland and the horse industry? So,
of all the questions I could have prepped for, the horses was not one of them. Honestly, a bad confession, but I've never been to Churchill Downs. I am a Keeneland girl through and through, which is like the Lexington track.
That's not a bad answer. That's not a bad answer.
That's good. It gives us an alternative.
And I go every fall and every spring once. I make my appearance. I love it.
Yeah.
You make it sound as if it's like Royal Ascot.
It would be.
Do you guys know what Keeneland is? Have you heard of Keeneland?
Yep, I've heard of it. Yep.
Okay. Well, it's the best. I'm definitely biased. It's the best kept secret in Kentucky, and it's the track here in Fayette County, Lexington, Kentucky, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Open twice a year in the spring and the fall. Just
Breeders' Cup was there last year.
Cup,
so
that's right.
I feel like it's really on the map now.
Like it's my hometown of Ballymena is twinned. You know that town twinning thing that they do, where they that's this town's twinned with that town. My hometown of Ballymena is twinned with Moorhead in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah, Moorhead, down the road.
My hometown is twinned. Now they will tell you, and they're all very serious when they're talking about this, that Ballymena is twinned with Moorhead because of the Scots-Irish connection, that, you know, all of that kind of thing. Actually, the real story of why we're twinned with Moorhead is because the mayor at the time, PJ McAvoy, wanted to go and watch the Kentucky Derby. That's essentially why we ended up getting twinned. I'm not joking; it's genuinely true. So yeah, that's how we ended up twinned.
Well,
crap, like. But
whether you're at Churchill Downs or Keeneland, you know, you got to get a julep.
oh yeah,
that's kind of the tradition here. So
yeah,
is that turkey dinner that they do for all the horsey people? That's what I want, not a mint julep. You know,
just
Not
as
a-
a food, by the way.
oh man,
Now, a couple of quick things. Just a couple of quick things just popped into my head. I know that you have some already signed up for this. And now you probably can't disclose who they are just yet, but I'm beginning to think that there's a couple of fairly big players who's probably signed up, and then there's probably quite a few dotted around that have signed up for it already. Have you? How many? Give me a ballpark. How many people have signed up for it already, or something? Give me something.
Well, it was important to us to have good diversity starting out of the gate here with our founding members. There's been those that have been involved from early days. I think what you'll see is a really nice, mix of very established, larger brands. We're very excited about one of our founding members who's just putting shovels in the ground. We have folks from not only Kentucky, but also other states and other countries. So it's a really good mix. And we're not trying to be coy. We basically are under embargo until August 22nd, which is when we have an event here with our founding members in Lexington. And we'll announce that. There will be some, you'll see some articles and things come out at about that time. So it's really exciting. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make this happen. So we're super excited.
Excellent.
About that.
So we don't have long to wait until we find out who all signed up. Excuse me. That whiskey went down.
Yeah.
There we go.
Listen, I've got to ask you, do you work over the summer? Do you work over the summer at the university then? Do you not take July and August off?
I wish. But no, we're not. We don't teach. We're staff. So, Alexa, you should, by the way, mention your day job. But so we're here supporting, our partners that are working with the university and our faculty, and so we're all year round. But Alexa, what is it that you do at the university?
I thought this was your day job.
Well, it kind of is, but first of all, I do think getting summers off is a great idea. So let's just pocket that one for later. But my official title is Innovation Connect Manager, and so what that means is I manage industry relationships for research and innovation for the College of Ag, Food, and Environment here. So there's a lot of times where industry partners want to work with the university for research because we have a lot of great faculty that have very specific expertise. And so a company will reach out and I'm kind of their touch point a lot of times to connect them to the faculty and get some research started.
Yeah. So you seem to wear about 8 or 9 different hats here. You sort of, I'll do this, I did that, and then I've done this, then I've done that, and now I'm doing this as a job, but I'm doing that as well.
Yeah, but it all kind of fits into one role of like driving impact from research.
Yeah.
Like a lot of our research is whiskey based, so like this project made sense. I also should mention I think I was the second class of graduates from the Beam Institute, the certificate that they were offering there.
Yeah.
And that was an awesome program. So like, it's great to have them supporting the Estate Whiskey Alliance as well. We have Seth DeBolt as an advisor, and he has been so helpful in giving us like tips and guidance and connecting us within the industry. So it's been helpful to have the resources. It's kind of like the unique group that we needed to make this happen. It's crazy that we had every single person basically that we needed.
Yeah, that's cool. But I do feel that you are kind of the Swiss Army knife of the whole thing. There's a lot of skill set going on with yourself. But
Right.
what whiskies do you drink yourselves? I always ask that. What whiskies are you drinking yourself? I know you're a fan of this because we talked about this whenever.
That's true.
That's lovely.
Alexa, I think Alexa's has a much more sophisticated palate than I do. So
my answer is not sophisticated.
You gotta go first.
I like Woodford just double oaked out of the freezer, neat, like very specifically in the freezer tastes better. That's probably
Okay.
number one. Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm not a huge fan of Woodford, if I'm totally honest. Bourbon wouldn't be my first choice because I think some of it can be quite sweet and it's a little too sweet for my palate. But one of the best ones was, I said to Landon, I was talking to him the other day. I got a single cask bottle, like a store pick bottling for Maker's Mark. It was just superb, absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whenever some of the sort of cheaper end bourbons can be a bit too sweet for my palate, and they're not really for the likes of me. They're for for guys to stick a drop of Coke in it and an ice cube or something like that. That's fine. But once you start going a little bit higher up in the proof and the ABV, and sometimes spending a little bit more money on it, they can be fabulous stuff. Really, really complex, really complex. But most people, I don't know, drinking it out of the freezer. I think that might be a Kentucky thing there, Alexa, if I'm totally honest.
I don't know. I just tried it once. My uncle's also been really trying to push Crown and Water on me, so that's been my recent go-to. But I don't think it'll ever beat Woodford out of the freezer. I don't know what it is.
Does it go like a slush puppy? Is it like a slush puppy then? Is it?
No, no, it doesn't freeze. Just try it.
Okay.
Justin, you're not allowed to mention alcohol and anything that can relate to kids. Okay,
All right.
nothing.
Okay.
You're not allowed that. So it's not
Yeah.
it's like an adult ice pop or something. Don't think of that.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of someone drinking it straight out of the freezer on its own.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Coke. I think when the bourbon drinkers in Kentucky, when they see somebody, pouring Coke in a good bourbon, they kind of they winch a little bit. They kind of cringe. Yeah. I think for me, I'm a rocks guy. So you mentioned the Maker's Mark. They've got a really good, cask strength product out right now in the States, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
1792 is a great drinking bourbon. I usually have a bottle of that around. I like the Four Roses small batch quite a bit. And the Eagle Rare is another one of my go-tos.
I have a bottle of Eagles Rare sitting there somewhere. Eagles Rare seems to be quite hard for people to get in the States, but we can pick it up for like £35 a bottle in the supermarket.
No way.
Oh yeah, it's no problem for us to get it. I'll bring you over a bottle. Bring you over a couple of bottles.
Another reason to come see you guys.
You're more than welcome anytime you want to come over. But I'm thinking a couple of guys that I know. I think I'll give you the details of these guys, and I'll maybe get in touch with them and tell them that there might be something they want to look up, because I think having that sort of knowledge sharing, maybe some advice and skills, skill sharing and so on, and getting your connections might be a good thing. I'm thinking of one in particular in Scotland. Do you remember we talked to the guys at Loch Lee, Justin? They were growing on the farm up. It was a farm. They bought the farm that was owned by Robbie Burns, the poet, the Scottish poet, Robbie Burns, Burns Night, Burns Suppers and all that. And they actually grow the barley in the fields that Robbie Burns would have ploughed, and they distilled on site and all that. So it's a single estate bottling as well. It's really quite a cool project. And the whiskey's just superb for all, very young, but really, really cool project. But I can see how all these guys sort of jumping on board and having a bit of a sharing of skills would probably be quite a nice thing for them,
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth mentioning. We've talked a lot about Kentucky and the industry here. I mean, it's really nice to have so many amazing partners around us.
Yeah.
But the reason why we haven't visited Ireland, or we haven't visited, haven't expanded out so much, is there's only so much we could do. Alexa and I are doing a lot of this work ourselves, and we have a great team behind us that are supporting with contracts and marketing. We have a great advisory council, but it's strategic, right? We don't want to try to do too much at once, but I just want to make sure you guys understand that 100% our intention to grow and expand in those jurisdictions I talked about.
Yeah, well, as I say, if anything I can do to help, more than happy to do that. I'll say just a really cool thing, really nice, helps people, helps everybody, and as you say, a rising tide lifts all ships, which is always a nice way if people work and help each other. It's always a good thing. But you do have to come over and visit us. Get the university, fund a research project, pop over, come around Belfast. We'll go. I'll take you around. We'll show you, and we'll get. Well, I'll let you try some of this stuff that's in here.
I should mention that one of our advisors, he leads our agricultural economics department here at the University of Kentucky. His name is Dr. Tyler Mark, and I think he's going to be in Wales actually. so not too far from you guys.
It's not too far away. We can nearly see it. We can nearly see it from County Down.
Yeah, so we'll have to make that connection and see if he can come for a visit and maybe.
Oh no, you guys say that it's essential. You have to do research over in Northern Ireland. Come up to up here, and we'll go and do research and around some of the bars in Belfast and stuff. That
sounds great.
I agree.
Listen, guys, it's great to talk to you. Keep me up to date as to what's going on, because I'd be very interested to see some of the Irish guys and guys over in Scotland and whatnot joining up with you, because I think it's a really nice project. Nice ideas, nice project to be involved with, and sort of add a little value to the bottle and what's in the bottle. And,
absolutely. We really believe in this. I mean, hopefully you can sense our passion for it, and we're really excited. I'm so glad we've made a connection with you guys. And I should mention too, if anybody's watching this, they want to get in touch with us, you can visit our website at estatewhiskey.org.
Yep.
Choose your spelling, estate whiskey with an E or without an E. It'll take you to the same place. You can learn a little bit more about the program when we launch or open up our membership for sign up on August 22nd. You'll have a lot more access to information there, including our founding members. So stay tuned. You can sign up for information, newsletters. We've got social media channels, so go check it out.
You know what just dawned on me, Justin?
What?
I should introduce him to the Admiral, because he's a single estate whiskey.
He is, yes.
And I'm friends with a guy. He's a former Rear Admiral of the U.S. Navy. Oh. He owns a distillery in Maryland. And he is, well, they're all a little bit nuts. But it's called the Tobacco Barn Distillery. He's just a really, really cool guy. And they've wonderful project, single estate whiskey. And how I found out about him, he got a friend who had a Harrier jump jet. You know, as you do in the States, somebody just owns a fighter jet in private hands. As you do.
Yeah, we've all got one.
Wouldn't put it past you, to be quite honest. And what they did was they strapped 4 casks of whiskey to the payload, and I think flew it at 700 miles an hour, as you do, which I think is the most American thing I've ever heard in my life. Let's be honest. There's no other country in the world that you could do that in. But I'll put you in touch with the Admiral, because he's somebody you probably
would love that. Love that.
He's a great guy. But he has single estate whiskey too, so hopefully these guys will drop you a line and that's what we do. When we make those connections, we'll hop on a call, we'll talk to folks, and try to share as much as we can about what we're doing, and like I said, we're open to any sort of members, and it's not just distilleries. It's farmers, it's other trade organizations. We've got a really good partner here in the States that's affiliated, I guess, with the estate whiskey and with the spirits industry that we're really excited about. So, it takes all of us, and other universities too. I mean, there's a lot of great research and development all around the globe that's happening in universities. It's happening in research institutes. So, come one, come all. Yeah. Again, it's great talking to you guys, and keep me up to speed with what's going on, and more power to you. Alexa, I'll probably, the next time I'm talking to you, probably have another two or three strings to your bow.
Marty, as long as it doesn't become an argometus, because you can never say that word.
There's a project over here, Waterford Whiskey, where they had this girl, and she was going out to all the farmers to make sure that the soils and all were good, and so on and so forth. And I ended up, all I could call her, she said, just call me a crop walker. Because that's exactly what I do. Because I couldn't actually say she's an agronomist in this. Honestly, I can't say that. I just cannot say the word. It just cannot come out of my mouth. Agronomist. So I had to say, crop walker. Now, Grace, she's a lovely girl. She's since subsequently moved on, but so don't become an agronomist, and then we'll not have to go. Anyway, right. Estate Whiskey Alliance, and if anybody's interested, I'll get in touch with a couple of these guys, and hopefully they'll get in touch with you. And best luck to you, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Lovely stuff, folks.
Okay.
Remember to comment, like, and
Awesome.
share. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Telegram, Twitch, wherever you get your podcast from. Except we're not live tonight. This is a recorded show. So remember to comment, like, and share, and tell all your friends. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you again, same time, same place next week. We're in the throes of Belfast Whiskey Week, and that's why we aren't live.